Part 21. A Middle School Cartoonist. Author, Mao Do Sde Mao. Chapter 201. The battle between Marisa and Fran entered a white-hot stage. After the first chapter ended, the content of the next chapter naturally continued to tell the story of this battle. Because of the problem of continuous serialization, there will be no rhythm of the main plot being stuck before. This makes many readers, especially those who have been killed by Hao Winkuma many times, like the approach of Shonen Jump in their hearts. Otherwise, according to the previous habit, after reading this chapter, you have to wait for another week, but this week is too hard to bear. However, most readers still underestimate someone's deep-rooted killing behavior. The content of the next chapter of the comics did not directly tell the barrage battle between Fran and Marisa, but switched the screen to the other side. This made many readers curl their lips in dissatisfaction. The content of the second chapter was just the beginning. Many people have already reacted. Why is the first name in the author column of this comic called To Hao Jensukyo Hao Winkuma? Nima. Deliberately skipping the battle scene and switching to the other side, this kind of deliberate suspense behavior, only a middle school cartoonist can do it. It will never be wrong. Fantasy Township is the place where we swore, humans, monsters, your fate is in my hands, just bow down to my power to rule the night. The little loli in a high position, with a ball of energy wrapped in silk threads in her hand, looks extremely weird. Especially in front of the little loli, there are four girls standing with respectful expressions, and you can tell at a glance that she is a villain-level character. Although there is only a close-up of the face, many readers recognized at a glance that this villain-level little loli is the Scarlet Devil Mansion group who was late for the banquet before. Seeing this, many readers were confused, and some of them turned forward several pages uncertainly, confirming that the little loli is indeed the same person, but it seemed that the Scarlet Devil Mansion group had a good relationship with Marisa before, but now it seems that they are hostile parties. Spreading out from the mansion villa, the whole sky was dyed blood red. Although it is a black and white comic, with the narration, many readers understand what the villain-level little loli just said. However, looking at the scenes described in the comic, many readers were shocked. Covering the sky and the sun. This ability is too cruel, right? In the previous monster comics serialized by Fengguangai Yuankuma, such cruel abilities rarely appeared. Monsters as powerful as the white-faced one or the feathered fox rarely use this ability even if they can do it. However, the loli who is about the same size as Fran also has such strength. What kind of creatures live in this fantasy town? The comic switched to the battle between Fran and Marisa again, and someone continued to dig a pit. I don't know, because my elder sister always excludes me. Facing Marisa's question, the smile on her face disappeared, and Fran lowered her head and answered with a gloomy face. In the last second, she can still talk and communicate with a smile, and in the next second, she can directly launch an attack. Although it sounds that Fran's situation is a bit pitiful, because Fran's contrast cuteness was successfully portrayed before, many readers have been on guard against this Fran who was once locked in a small dark room. Fran and Marisa will continue to fight next, which makes many readers look forward to it. A huge water column suddenly gushed up, forming a huge ball that wrapped Fran. Fran, who had chased Marisa before, was imprisoned without any resistance. Just when Marisa and Fran were surprised, the girl wearing a hat on her head slowly walked out. The person who trapped Fran was undoubtedly this girl. Elemental magic. Sees the fact that vampires cannot pass through water and trap Lady Fran. The girl in a maid outfit with black bat wings behind her explained, looking at the girl in the hat with shining eyes, and said with admiration, "You are worthy of being the magician Patchouli." Fran, stay there obediently. The magician named Patchouli had no smile on her face and looked very serious. She did not negotiate with Marisa, but directly scolded Fran. Remy told you, didn't she? Everyone is busy now. Marisa, who noticed that the sky had become weird, naturally asked Patchouli about her doubts, and Patchouli admitted it without any concealment. The red fog in the sky will plunge Gensokyo into eternal darkness. It was released by the owner of this mansion, Remlia Scarlet. At the same time, Patchouli also asked Marisa to leave immediately, because the person they were preparing to deal with was the shrine maiden Hakure Ryemu of Gensokyo. Facing Patchouli's mocking training, Marisa naturally couldn't retreat. As soon as the two came into contact, they began to fight. The magic circle unfolded behind Patchouli's feet, which was even more gorgeous than Fran's magic circle before. Although the power has not yet been shown, many readers can already understand that Patchouli's strength is extremely powerful just from the posture. Marisa, who was in crisis, made many readers worried and expectant at the same time. After all, magic attacks are gorgeous, and the battle between witches and magicians will naturally not be too different. The magic battle between beautiful girls is not only gorgeous but also pleasing to the eye. There is nothing more exciting than this. When turning to the next page of the comics, many readers twitched their mouths at the same time, and began to curse a certain cartoonist in their hearts. There is no gorgeous battle, but the comics describe Ryemu flying in the sky. Although she has only appeared now, many readers have already vaguely understood the destination of this shrine maiden by looking at the direction of Ryemu's flight. The gatekeeper of the mansion villa is a hot girl. She took a common posture of a warrior and blocked the shrine maiden. Seeing this scene, many readers are wondering what kind of gorgeous battle will happen next, but Ryemu didn't say much, just raised his hand and released a huge ball of light, hitting the gatekeeper girl, and then the battle ended. This Ryemu is too strong, isn't it? Such a development made many readers stunned. When drawing this place, Nazuma Eiji was also a little surprised, and asked Takahashi Makoto about this plot. According to General Comics, it is a good choice to arrange a big battle at this time. Even if it is to set off the powerful strength of the Shrine Maiden Ryemu, there is no need to use a one-shot kill to pass it over, right? Because the next battle of the head maid is one of the highlights of the Red Mist incident. Because it's Sakia, because she's a sister. Takahashi Makoto looked a little dazed at the time, but he was a little bit evasive when answering this question. He couldn't tell Nazuma Eiji that he was obsessed with Sakia in his past life and now, right? Ryemu entered the villa and met a human in a maid outfit. Sakia is Aoi. Welcome to the Scarlet Devil Mansion. Sakia, with short hair, sideburns on both sides, tied into small braids, and wearing a maid outfit, appeared. Sakia gradually walked out of the darkness, looking at the intruding shrine maiden, with a cold and murderous smile on her face. Hakure's shrine maiden. You are a human. Ryemu was a little puzzled by Sakia's behavior, but she didn't say much, but went straight to the point. Call your master out. That red mist will cause trouble to others, stop it quickly. You can't see the eldest lady. When Sakia spoke, the door behind Ryemu was suddenly closed, and just when Ryemu was still in a daze, Sakia appeared beside Ryemu strangely. I was ordered to entertain you on her behalf. If you make trouble. Ryemu's attack was avoided by Sakia. Seeing Sakia pulling out a flying knife from the side of her thigh, Ryemu knew that it was useless to say more. Whether it is a human or a monster, you will be defeated. Sakia jumped high, with a cold light flashing in her hand, and 3 flying knives shot at Ryemu. Looking at the flying knives flying towards her, Ryemu suddenly paused with a surprised look on her face, and the screen switched to Sakia's side. Something surprising happened to the readers. There were only 3 flying knives before, but in the screen, there were countless flying knives. Although Ryemu's movements suddenly paused, it was a bit strange, but looking at the number of flying knives attacking Ryemu, many readers have realized that this must be some kind of special ability of Sakia. And Ryemu, who counterattacked, paused again, and all the flying talismans also missed. Looking at the clock that flashed in Sakia's eyes in the comics, many readers guessed that Sakia's special ability was related to time at the first time. But, looking at the place where Ryemu stood, which was densely filled with flying knives, many readers were speechless. In the previous comics, it was clearly seen that Sakia only pulled out 3 flying knives from the side of her thigh. Now looking at the flying knives all over the ground, this number, let alone 30, there must be 300, right? Why don't you become a magician? You're very welcome in the human village. Ryemu and Sakia temporarily stopped fighting and launched a verbal attack. Although most readers found this kind of plot-dragging behavior difficult to accept in the past, it's different now. Because they are curious about Sakia's ability, curious about Sakia's past, and curious about how Ryemu will fight back. Although dialogue cannot replace fighting, they can learn more from the dialogue between the two, so they are not too resistant. After all, compared with other comics, to how Gensokyo is completely different. Me? Go to the human place? What a funny joke. Sakia showed a bitter smile on his face, and stopped time again. With a shake in his hand, 3 flying knives appeared again. Let's end it. This power that is feared and despised by humans, if you use it seriously, you won't even know how you died. Although the dense flying knives stopped in the air because of the time stoppage, many readers were a little scared when they saw Ryemu being surrounded in the comics. On the one hand, it was because Sakia's ability seemed too powerful. On the other hand, after the ability to stop time was used, the flying knife would continue to move forward. In the comics, Ryemu had no time to dodge the flying knife that was so close, right? The only one who can understand me is the eldest lady. Cancel it, holding a pocket watch in one hand and 3 flying knives in the other hand. Although it was not completely clear, Sakia also said in a few words why she stayed in the Scarlet Devil Mansion as a human. After the ability to stop time was cancelled, Ryemu, who had no time to dodge, was stabbed in the head by the flying knife. Her pupils did not dilate, and her life was gone. No way. A reader who was expecting Ryemu to dodge gorgeously was surprised. Puff. A reader who was drinking water saw Ryemu being stabbed in the head by a flying knife and used the skill of water jet. More readers fell into silence. Although they knew that Ryemu couldn't die like this, the readers who were already addicted to the comics couldn't help but be curious. They turned to the next page without hesitation and saw that the content of the comics turned to Marisa. They couldn't help but twitch their lips. As expected, they were fooled again. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist Mao. Chapter 202. After reading the comics, I found that the previous blow to Ryemu's head by a flying knife was just an illusion. This made many readers feel relieved, and at the same time, they also felt that it was as expected. Think about it, it is true. Even if a cute creature that can be used as the cover title is not the protagonist, it still has a very important role. It is unreasonable to die at the beginning. Ryemu consumed the talismans as a price to perform the bug skill substitute and avoided the brutal attack of the infinite flying knife of the Sister Do. After that, Ryemu used the talismans on the ground as a medium to seal the Sister Do. According to the plot development that often appears in many fighting novels or comics, the masters fight, and the victory or defeat is only a matter of a moment. Although in reality, this moment is very illusory. After all, humans, a creature that relies on technology to develop, have not yet developed technology to the extent of teleportation or reversing cause and effect, but in comics, especially in Touhou Gensokyo, non-human creatures such as monsters and ghosts can really decide the outcome in a moment. Just like the gatekeeper of the Scarlet Devil Mansion, Miyadu delayed her actions because she was trapped in the seal, leaving enough time for Ryemu to release her killer move, so Miyadu was slapped away gorgeously. Although Miyadu has the brutal ability to control time, she was eventually slapped away by Ryemu. Although Miyadu can use moves similar to Infinite Flying Knife system, she was eventually slapped away by Ryemu. Although Miyatu's brief words revealed that some uncomfortable past events seemed to have happened to her, she was eventually slapped away by Ryemu. Ryemu's sudden counterattack shocked the readers, and Ryemu's powerful strength surprised the readers, but seeing this, many readers also expressed their understanding. Since the manga Touhou Gensokyo has chosen to be serialized in Shonen Jump, it naturally has to have content that fits the theme, that is, the protagonist must have an aura of defeating the enemy. Although Miyatu is a character that amazes readers, she is not the culprit who launched the Red Mist incident. Therefore, as the protagonist, Ryemu will naturally not fail here before seeing the mastermind behind the scenes. The caster of the Red Mist anomaly was Miss Remlia, and coupled with the words of the Sister Do before her appearance, many readers are certain that Ryemu's final opponent will be the vampire lady. But when the next page of the comic was turned, it was found that the battle scene switched to Marisa and Patchouli. Although this jumping method made many readers resentful, the gorgeous magic circle and violent explosion when Patchouli cast magic before still left a deep impression on many readers. The smoke of the explosion dissipated, and the water ball wrapped around Fran was broken. When Fran was free, Marisa walked out of the smoke with a slightly embarrassed look. Without any extra picture description, it can be guessed that the result of the battle with the magician Patchouli is that Marisa is the winner. But how is it over like this? What happened before? Many readers were shocked when they saw this, and then suddenly felt deceived. Marisa, who was clearly at a disadvantage before, why did she suddenly complete the counterattack? This is not scientific at all. Where is the gorgeous confrontation? The clothes that burst, ahem, where is the fierce fighting? Due to physical reasons, Patchouli fell into anemia at the critical moment, and was pushed away instead of being killed. Although it is described in the comics, many readers still cannot accept it. Damn! Dare to use the cheat more obviously? According to the classic routines of many novels and comics, when the protagonist encounters an enemy in the stage of inner demons, most of the time he will choose to launch a mouth attack, successfully instigate the enemy, and pull the original enemy into his own camp, reducing the enemy's strength and expanding his own combat power. As the protagonist, Marisa naturally also mastered this ability. After a mouth attack, she successfully instigated Fran to rebel, and rushed into the enemy headquarters before Ryemu, and directly faced the final enemy Miss Remlia. The vampires of the Scarlet family were instigated by mere humans. Have some shame, the young lady was suspended in the air, full of momentum. She was obviously a little lowly, but she put on a majestic posture. The contrast was once again successfully constructed. I have always listened to my sister and endured being a good child, but now I don't want to endure anymore. I don't want to be a good child. I'm going to knock my sister down and go outside. Fran lowered her head, recalling her isolated past, which made many readers twitch their mouths. Understanding is understanding, but according to the description in the previous comics, Fran's character obviously has some flaws. Miss Remlia imprisoned Fran, to some extent, for Fran's good. But seeing Fran say such words seriously, with a firm look on her face, many readers were suddenly touched by Fran. The gorgeous barrage attack, the battle called Sister Killing, although the reason for the battle is a bit weird, but for readers, it is a pleasure. The attitude of Ryemu and Marisa watching from the sidelines also made many readers feel that the battle between the two vampire Lolita will be the final battle of this Red Mist incident. Remlia knocked away the energy sword in Fran's hand with one blow, and a ferocious expression appeared on her face, and she hit Fran, who was stunned fiercely. Seeing this, many readers felt a little depressed. Although the gorgeous barrage and the attacks back and forth looked really exciting, the scenes of sisters killing each other were still a little. Remlia didn't kill Fran, but hugged Fran and comforted her with kind words. The two sisters hugged each other tightly, and after a brief exchange, they eliminated the previous barriers and misunderstandings. Not only that, Remlia also successfully freed Fran from Marissa's brainwashing with mouth cannon attack. The two sisters stood on the same front again and invited Ryemu to fight. Sorry for waiting, Hakure's Maiko. Now let's bet on Gensokyo to decide the outcome. Remlia, holding her sister's hand, looked at Ryemu with a smile on her face. Is this the rumored sisterhood of unity, which can break metal? I'll deal with you now. Pointing at Ryemu, Fran showed a mischievous smile on her face. Although she has some personality problems, but, Mololi is the truth. Cuteness is justice. It's okay, as long as Ryemu and I join forces, we'll be invincible. Although Marissa is a witch, because of her blonde hair, she also has the blood of a warlike race flowing in her body, so when you meet a golden-haired girl, be careful. You must cooperate well. Facing the challenge of the vampire sisters, the red and white witch Ryemu naturally chose her teammate, the black and white witch Marissa. Then let me introduce them again. Holding her skirt with both hands, Remlia bowed her head and showed a faint smile on her face. Even with the wings behind her and the state of floating in the air, many readers' Lolita control souls still awakened and burned. I am the lord of this Scarlet Devil mansion, the noble vampire, Remlia Scarlet. And then there is my sister, Fran Scarlet. Although there are some problems with her personality, Fran still shows the noble style of a vampire, and bows to Ryemu and Marissa in the same posture as the eldest lady. Hakure Ryemu, you know I'm the Hakure Shrine Maiden. My job is to defeat monsters. Ryemu naturally introduced herself. Although readers didn't see Ryemu's full name and identity until this time, who has time to care about this when the war is imminent? I think it's clear that the fog you released is very annoying, so quickly put it away. Immediately. The reason why Remlia released such fog is because vampires are afraid of sunlight, so they want to use this fog to block the sunlight. Because of the fog, the sunlight can no longer shine into Gensokyo. In other words, the entire Gensokyo is now temporarily under Remlia's control because of this weird fog. As for Remlia's desire to take over Gensokyo, Ryemu showed a completely indifferent look. The winner can get Gensokyo. Ryemu shook her head with a nonchalant look. I don't want such troublesome things. Your behavior is very annoying, so I have to defeat you, that's all. The deployment of the magic circle announced the start of the battle. The scattered barrage did not make the comics look messy, but made every picture look extremely gorgeous. Unlike other comics, most of the battles in Tohuang Gensokyo are based on long-range barrages, dodging the opponent's barrages, and launching their own barrage attacks. Although there are no direct and passionate scenes of fist-to-flesh, such gorgeous battles have also made many readers obsessed. It is said that no matter whether it is a battle between monsters, vampires, witches, or girls, if they fight with fists and face-to-face melee, the gorgeousness and fashion value will definitely drop. Of course, the bursting clothes battle does not count, cough cough. The talisman rotates around itself, forming an energy cycle in a circular way, just like the reaction of the Shikigami Pajun in Nura. Oni, Ryemu, as a witch, finally released the super killer dream seal. The huge Tai Chi sphere fell from the sky and smashed the vampire Loli sisters. The Scarlet Devil mansion, which looked extremely huge before, was so small in front of this Tai Chi sphere. In front of Ryemu's powerful strength, the vampire Loli sisters were defeated, and the strange red fog covering the entire Gensokyo also dissipated. The mutation caused by the red fog was successfully solved. I thought the story of the red fog mutation ended here, but watching the comics, the scene switched to the banquet again, which made many readers look forward to it again. After all, the characters created in the content of a few chapters have gradually been accepted by readers. The impact of the suspension of several popular comics before has also been eliminated little by little. Of course, until this time, many readers finally felt that using 2 weeks to serialize the comic to how Gensokyo was the most wise choice made by Shonen Jump. But unfortunately, many people seem to have forgotten that a certain middle school cartoonist is used to cheating people. It was not until the end of the 2-week serialization that the readers who gradually reacted found that they were cheated again, and were severely cheated by the comic called Touhou Gensokyo. Well, I hope all the readers will not complain about the Eastern series. After all, it is indeed difficult to write this. If I don't grasp it well, I apologize again. I recommend watching the Red Mist Mutation. There is a video for this, although the dubbing sounds a bit weird. I said the above. By the way, because of some things happening at home recently, I went to deal with things directly after writing and posting. I am very sorry for the late reply or omission or delay in the book review. I respect every reader, so if there is anything wrong, please forgive me. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist Male. Chapter 203. Touhou Fantasyland has a lot of plots, and just 2 issues of Shonen Jump with 40 chapters are totally not enough. But it is a pity that the editor-in-chief only gave Makoto Takahashi 2 weeks. In addition to considering the combat effectiveness of other cartoonists on the cartoonist side, Makoto Takahashi also had to consider how to complete Oriental dominance while deleting a large number of scenes. Plan. That's not the case. Since the eldest lady and the second sister are vampires, of course they have their original families, because something happened to them, they had to leave their families, and then they left the place where they originally lived and entered Fantasyland. Among them, although Makoto Takahashi patiently gave everyone a popular science introduction to the hotel when he first drew Red Mist Mutation, the cartoonist said that his ability to accept it was limited, and the content of the cartoon he drew was different from that of a certain person. Compared with the content of well-intentioned science popularization, about 90% of the content has been basically deleted. The purpose of Yuyuko's doing this is, in the last words of popular science, at the critical point of patience, although it is said like this, most of the content has been deleted again in the final comic. That's right, Kaguya-chan's identity is derived from the legendary girl. Little Sea Otter, don't show your ignorance. Haven't you studied the tale of bamboo? You really don't know. Hey. Even if you are a sea otter and become a spirit, if you want to fully integrate into human society, you must master the knowledge that humans should master. Switch to the history teacher mode and teach the little sea otter a good lesson. The second model looks at history and how to be a human being. Hey. Of course it's impossible to say such a thing. Miss Kang Shuhong, you have passed the shelf life of the late stage Lolita. I call you Miss just because you look like a daughter from a scholarly family. Miss, instead of saying that you are a vampire or something, hey. I have already entered the second stage of transformation of quasi-wife. Because of the title of eldest lady, there is an intersection between comics and reality. Kanshu Kurane looked at Makoto Takahashi with a puzzled face, thinking that the title eldest lady came from herself. By the way, this time it was not a popular science, but a forced explanation. In the final analysis, there is still a long way to go between a Lolita and a quasi-married woman, even if it is a Lolita in the final stage. Looking back on the past, although when he was drawing comics, Makoto Takahashi was able to provide as complete a story as possible to the cartoonists on the cartoonist side, reducing the difficulty in the comic creation process. But now looking at the comics that have been published, Landai still couldn't help but sigh, isn't this too far off? Hey, Kairan, is this really okay? Landai raised the sample issue of Young Junk in his hand and looked at his good gay partner with a speechless expression, his tone full of guilt. Cheng, that guy will definitely cause trouble if he draws it like this. I have already seen the future where readers will form a team to attack Cheng. When I think about countless people looking forward to the follow-up of Oriental Fantasyland and jumping into the pit, my body and soul can't help but tremble with pleasure, even though Aiken said so. Huang Mr. Mao with glasses put down the sample magazine with a helpless expression and pushed up his glasses, but this kind of bad taste, sure enough, that Guy Cheng is really, definitely broken, right? Right? Not to mention readers, even everyone who participated in the comics, after learning that the entire Oriental fantasy land only appeared briefly, couldn't help but want to slap that Guy Cheng. Lan, when I think of this incident, I feel a broken pain somewhere. I deliberately created a lot of characters through comics, and then told the stories of a few characters with half knowledge, laying down some foreshadowing and hidden plots. In the past, I only felt that Guy Cheng is a bit of a middle-class guy, but now I feel like it's more than that. Ah, never mind, anyway, we are just cartoonists participating in comics, and the culprit is that Guy Cheng. When everyone was working hard to draw comics, the yellow-haired glasses guy who was just a soy sauce, could actually do it without any problems. Shame on you for saying such shameful words. Is the culprit? I recalled that when someone was drawing comics, he was explaining the characters and hidden plots in the comics to everyone. As a result, most of the content was deleted from the comics. Lan Dai, the corners of his mouth kept twitching, and the resentment deepened again. Because he participates in the creation of comics, cartoonists already have a lot more relevant information than most readers who can only read comics. But even so, Lan Dai still has a lot of puzzles about the entire comic, and Makoto Takahashi did not give a complete explanation. It made Lan Dai full of curiosity, let alone a reader who just saw the comics. Just as Ajumu thought, the comics of Tuhao Fantasyland and the contents of the first week are all digging holes. After reading the incident in the Red Mist, readers originally thought that the following content would tell the story of the Scarlet Vampire family, who would have thought that the content of the subsequent comics did not mention a word, except for the occasional appearance of the Scarlet Devil Mansion group. Apart from showing his face, his identity was directly downgraded from the protagonist's old enemy in the Red Mist mutation chapter to passerby soy sauce. Although readers know that this is intentional by the cartoonists, they like it and want to know more about the relevant content of Tuhao and the hidden plots and stories, so they began to study it in depth, and then, nothing happened. Even the cartoonists on the cartoonist side only have a vague understanding of the entire comic and naturally cannot answer it, and the initiator, Makoto Takahashi, did not stand up and offer a course on supplementary Tuhao information, so any information related to Tuhao is still hidden. Without access to official information, readers can only use their imagination. Human imagination is infinite. After the serialization of Tuhao was completed, various discussions about Tuhao appeared on the internet. All the characters that appeared in the comics were included in the category of imagination. Although the comics have been completed, the discussion about Tuhao is becoming more and more intense. The related fan fiction comics of each character have begun to appear in the online world. As long as you don't play your cards according to the routine, you will never be able to grasp the cards. This is true for comics, and so is life. Of course, those who play with fire and burn themselves and the like of stray dogs cannot be counted among them. The comic Tuhao Gensokyo was serialized in a flash, and the final result was naturally well received. At least this can be seen from the sales that skyrocketed in 2 weeks. Although at the beginning, the sales of Shonen Jump dropped a lot due to the suspension of several popular comics, but as one of the 3 miracles of the previous life, the influence of the Tuhao series is naturally not to be underestimated. Unlike the previous Higurashi with multiple endings, the comic Tuhao Gensokyo has a single route and inconsistent timeline, but these cannot prevent the spread of the Tuhao series. Because there are quite a lot of beautiful girls in the Tuhao series, it is no exaggeration to say that any of the characters can be built around an independent comic or novel. The appearance of a large number of characters has indeed not only prevented the content of the comics from becoming confusing, but because each character has gathered a lot of fans, Tuhao Gensokyo has gathered a lot of popularity in a short period of time. Take the shameless combination duo as an example. In Tuhao Gensokyo, the two are the characters who have appeared the most times. Previously, because of the Red Mist incident, the two-person team successfully created an image of strong strength, but as the content unfolded, Riemu's money grubber nature broke out, and Marissa's habitual thief characteristics awakened, allowing readers of this world to experience the unscrupulous and unparalleled combination of red and black and white in the world where Takahashi Makoto was before. By the way, there are a lot of related stories about the story of the red and white witch and the black and white witch on the internet. Humph. Of course. But although the plan is going well, it's not enough. It's still a long way from completing our long-cherished wish of a comprehensive domination plan. When Yoshida was excited and told Takahashi Makoto about the well-received comics, he got this reply. Looking at Takahashi Makoto's gloomy face, Yoshida was a little puzzled. Although the comic Touhou was a work created by everyone, Takahashi Makoto was the absolute backbone. Both the cartoonist and the editor knew it well. But now that the manga is well received, Takahashi Makoto shouldn't show such an expression. According to Takahashi Makoto's character in the past, he would definitely raise his white coat, laugh wildly at the sky, and shout something like "The world has surrendered to my feet." Yes, yes, yes. Although he really wanted to complain about Takahashi Makoto, isn't this enough? Yoshida's sixth sense told him that in order to avoid some Chuyunibu switching to berserker mode and using forbidden moves such as Bankai, the best choice is to change the subject immediately. But it's a pity this time. If you had spent more time negotiating with the editor, even just one more week, you could have raised the influence of Touhou to another level. The wisdom of mortals, Takahashi Makoto shook the paper full of words in his hand, with a hint of sarcasm on his face. Humans are such sad creatures, but they can never understand satisfaction and never learn to stop. Whether it's the people you like or the things you want, if they are too easy to get, you will naturally get bored easily. As believers of my Phoenix Academy, before being baptized by the doctrine, you are still just mortals who can't resist temptation. I don't understand what you want to say. But Cheng, just 2 issues of content can reach such a level. Yoshida flipped through the looking at the sample magazine on the table. He showed an expectant look on his face. The editorial department hopes that you can. My beloved cat, greed is the original sin. Have you fallen to this extent? Looking at Yoshida with a bad look, Takahashi Makoto's face gradually became gloomy. This childish behavior is definitely not the choice of the wise commander. Humph. There is only one truth. As expected, my beloved cat, are you here to lobby for the top leaders of the organization this time? No. If the top leaders of the organization you are talking about refer to the top leaders of Urangsha. Yoshida showed a mysterious smile on his face, took out a notebook from his jacket pocket, quickly opened it, and coughed to suppress the excitement in his heart. Ahem, Chang, because East was well received this time, the TV station wants to do an exclusive interview with the original staff. Reject, without even thinking about it. Takahashi Makoto refused directly. I hate being watched, especially being watched by all kinds of complicated eyes of envy, jealousy, hatred, worship, longing, and love. Instead of spending time participating in such boring things, it is better to strive to join the Straw Hat Pirates and go to the Ice and Fire Island to find the dragon-slaying sword. Besides, task. At this time, it's me, codename Omega. Fengguangai Yuan Kuma. Takahashi Makoto actually avoided others to answer the phone, so the person who called must be. Yoshida looked at Takahashi Makoto with some surprise, and a look of "I know who the real murderer is" appeared on his face. My beloved cat. The call ended quickly, and Takahashi Makoto showed a weird smile on his face, which made Yoshida a little scared. It seems that the thing you said before, although it is still early, is also part of the plan. It makes people look forward to it. Ha 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 ha. Looking at Takahashi Makoto's 20-foot laughter, Yoshida had a bitter face, and 10,000 grass mud horses roared through his heart. Please don't expect it.
Please, Feng Guangai Yuan Kuma teacher. Your Majesty the sadistic and sadistic. Your Excellency Makoto Takahashi. Big mistake. I forgot to upload it last night. Sorry I was negligent. I am very sorry. A middle school cartoonist. Author, Mao Do SD Mao. Chapter 204. The reason why I thought of doing an exclusive interview with the original staff of Touhou Fantasyland is because this comic has been in the spotlight recently. Since the 2-week serialization ended, Shonen Jump has resumed its normal serialization. Although many readers are relieved to see that several popular comics have resumed updates, many readers are also troubled by the fact that Touhou has not appeared again. At first, most readers were resistant to this comic, making it not very palatable. But just 2 weeks later, due to Makoto Takahashi's deliberate digging of holes, many stories in the comics were not explained clearly. The half-understood and appetizing behavior made readers who wanted to know more began to become anxious. Of course, it was not only the numerous readers who were tricked by the Touhou comics, but also the many editors on the editorial side of Shonen Jump. The Touhou comic, which was fully prepared with just 2 issues, was able to obtain such a high support rate. Therefore, the unprepared editor was unfortunately dragged into the pit this time. Will Touhou continue to be serialized? I really want to know the story about the Gap monster Yakumo Murasaki. Why has it only been serialized for 2 weeks? Obviously there are still many things that have not been explained clearly. What is your editorial department doing? Will Shonen Jump not serialize Touhou again in the future? Deliberately titillating people, this kind of thing is the most annoying thing. Let those cartoonists come out and talk about life with us. Since the serialization of Touhou ended, the editor has spent a peaceful week. However, the normal serialization resumed the next week, and the weekly magazine that did not serialize Oriental caused some readers who fell into the pit of Oriental to spontaneously use the telephone storm skill to carpet bomb the editor's side. This kind of office phone ringing non-stop made the editors on the editorial side feel a touch of sadness for a long time, and the level of resentment towards a certain middle school student increased by 2 levels. The TV station that had established good cooperation with Shonen Jump originally planned to invite some young cartoonists to do an interview. However, seeing the exaggerated influence of the cartoon Touhou, and based on the previously released information, it was completed the cartoonist of this comic happened to be one of the younger generation of cartoonists in the current weekly magazine, so he naturally took the opportunity to invite the original staff for an interview. The TV station can take this opportunity to increase the ratings, and the editors can also take this opportunity to let cartoonists such as Takahashi Makoto explain to many readers the content of the Touhou series to divert readers' resentment. Ahem. It should divert the reader's attention and interrupt the hellish bombing telephone storm attack. Therefore, the 2 parties quickly established an intention to cooperate and agreed on a time in 1 month. Just looking at the list sent by the editor, especially the 2 very familiar names among them, the director of the TV station showed a helpless look. It's natural to recognize Eiji Arizuma, a popular manga artist. When I participated in TV programs before, I didn't follow the procedures at all. The offline answers gave the host a headache, especially the self-centered speech declaring war on other cartoonists. Although the ratings increased, in the end it was still a thorn in the side. A kind of existence. The degree of difficulty is still moderate. But the mangaka Hohoin Kayama is definitely at the level of a hell demon in terms of this level of difficulty. Is this your plan? The director's face was gloomy, and he slammed the plan in his hand on the table. He looked up at the beautiful newcomer in front of him, but in his mind, he recalled that someone was at the recording side of the program before. The arrogant Chuyuni's expression was a bit unkind. Cartoonist Hohoin Koshin, why is this guy on the list? Isn't that natural? After stroking her hair from her temples, the beautiful newcomer looked at the director in surprise.
because according to the former editor-in-chief of Young Junk of Yurong Society, the entire Eastern series, although the manga was jointly completed by multiple manga artists, both the plot and the characters were provided by the manga artist Hohoin Kayama, so. Ahem, I mean, Mina-chan, do you know anything about the mangaka Hohoin Murama? Looking at the newcomer named Mina, the director rubbed his temples and sighed helplessly. Since you proposed this planning, then I must have a certain understanding of the basic information of these cartoonists. Then those rumors about the murderous nature of the cartoonist Phoenix Institute. Phoenix Nkumide is a talented cartoonist. When Mina heard the editor mention this, her eyes showed admiration, and she immediately took over the topic. My favorite manga is that Hohoin Kuma-sensei is currently serializing Inuyasha. That's not what I want to ask, but... Looking at Mina's gleaming eyes, the director suddenly had an ominous premonition. However, before he could finish speaking, Mina was caught in a frenzy mode. The ground was interrupted. The earliest serialized comic of Phoenix Academy was DN. Although Shonen Jump did not announce the age of Phoenix Academy at that time, as Phoenix Academy's fierce popularity grew, many people discovered the idea of drawing DN at that time. The Phoenix Academy president was actually still a junior high school student. And in the subsequent comics, mentioning the Phoenix Academy murderous situation, Mina seemed to have switched to another personality and started to tell the story, while the director wanted to speak several times. But it is a sad discovery that I can't find a suitable place to interrupt. Mina, who is so dear to everyone, seems to have put a lot of effort into investigating the matter related to the Phoenix Academy murder case. If it were normal times, the director would definitely praise Mina for her serious work, etc., but when it comes to the Phoenix Academy murder case, the cartoonist and station director had no such thoughts at all. Instead, he looked at the newcomer Mina with confusion. Since he knew so much about the cartoonist Phoenix Institute Kuma, he must have heard some rumors. Well, what I want to say is that the cartoonist of Phoenix Institute Murama has collaborated with us once before. While Mina was drinking water, the station manager finally found a chance to change the topic and immediately started telling some of the past to Mina, but when talking about this, the station director looked a little embarrassed. You must have watched the interview show about the murderous people in the Phoenix Institute before, right? Hey. Is there such a thing? Mina looked at the director in surprise, with an unexpected look on her face, and then a joyful smile on her face. Director, if that's the case, can we do this time? Can't you let me host it? With his fingers tapping on the table, the director fell into a sluggish thinking mode. Although it is not in compliance with the regulations to let Mina, who is responsible for planning, be the host of the show, but, since Mina knows so much about the murderous nature of the Phoenix Academy, she will not be bullied badly. Moreover, Mina, a newcomer, has excellent abilities in all aspects. In terms of appearance, she is not inferior to the TV host. Although I really wanted to agree to Mina's request, the director always felt a little uneasy. But when he thought of his previous murder by the Phoenix Academy and his strong performance at the show recording site, the director had no choice but to make a choice. In that case, I'll leave it to you. Thank you, director. Mina showed a joyful smile on her face and looked up at the director confidently. I will definitely do my best to make this program reach a new high in ratings. Haha, then I'll wait and see. The feeling of uneasiness in his heart became more and more intense, and the station director comforted himself by reminding Mina, by the way, you'd better communicate with the cartoonists first. After all, cartoonists' daily work is still quite complicated. There are so many comics that we can read in 10 minutes, but it takes dozens of hours for them to finish, so booking a trip in advance is not only polite, but also good for program schedules. Very necessary. Well, I understand. Thank you, director. After turning around and going out, Mina immediately cheered. Yeah. It's great, I can finally meet the Phoenix Academy's fierce master. When I decided to work here, It turned out to be the best place in my life. The wisest choice. Listening to Mina's cheering voice outside the door, the director shook his head silently, with a bitter smile on his face. Blowing hair and breaking hair is often used to describe the sharpness of a sword. Although it is a bit exaggerated, the real sword in Takahashi Makoto's hand is indeed sharper, because after peeling the apple, Takahashi Makoto put the apple peel on the blade of the sword, blew on it, and the apple peel was broken into 2 pieces, free. The falling motion begins. It is indeed a magic sword from the border of the universe. The name of Broken Star is indeed as rumored. He waved the sword in his hand gently and ignored the sound of the wind. Makoto Takahashi stared at the long sword in his hand. I wonder if the soul can be cut open when cutting open the human body? Now, Mr. Chen Ben, let's continue the previous topic. Haha, this comic is really exciting, although it only lasts 2 issues. Chen Ben, who has been in contact with Takahashi Makoto several times and has a deep understanding of Takahashi Makoto, completely ignored Takahashi Makoto. All kinds of weird behaviors, with an expression of everything is under control on his face. If the news that Touhou is about to be animated is released at this time, it will definitely make the popularity of this comic rise again. Oh, it seems that you are not just simple characters. The tip of the sword pointed at Chen Ben, and a strange smile appeared on Makoto Takahashi's face. Before this, Mr. Chen Ben, did you forget to say something about the future duel plan you proposed before? Is that right? Not frightened by Takahashi Makoto's unusual behavior, the smile on Chen Ben's face suddenly solidified, and he rubbed his eyes with some nostalgia. His tone was some of them are self-deprecating. Just after reading the script, I couldn't help it, it's such an unexpected work. Although the board of directors has always felt that the market cannot be judged without the finished comics, but this was before reading the script. It's just an attitude, but I'm sorry, Mr. Takahashi Makoto, because there was some delay before. Taigasa plans to produce that animation only after Steel is completed. Hey. After discussing it for such a long time, it really doesn't work in the end. Although he had already known that this would be the result, Takahashi Makoto couldn't help but complain, but this is fine. Let's look at the situation sweeping the 3 realms. War, who is the winner? The plot of killing each other is the most loving. Although I didn't have the chance to see it in my previous life, in this world, I am looking forward to it. So about the Touhou animation. Taking advantage of Makoto Takahashi's good mood, Chen Ben showed a fox-like smile and asked tentatively about this. I originally wanted to refuse, but thinking of the TV show Yashida mentioned before, Takahashi Makoto showed a playful smile on his face. Hey, Mr. Chen Ben, are you interested in participating in a sacrificial event? Is it an interview with the original creator of the Touhou manga? Chen Ben's intelligence work is still extremely sharp, otherwise he would not have come directly to discuss the copyright of the Touhou animation with Makoto Takahashi. Although Mr. Makoto Takahashi, you completed this manga with other cartoonists as Howin Kyoma, but the real original creator of this manga should be you. But I can do some free publicity. Tisk. Squinting dead fox, after sending Chen Ben away with a smile, Makoto Takahashi immediately changed to a gloomy expression. It's really troublesome. But it's good this way, since the chess piece of knight has been obtained, then the next thing to wait for, is the key chess piece called queen. Just a simple complaint, a cat personally feels that the existence of the Touhou series is not enough just for the existence of comics. Touhou without music is not a good Touhou. We do like Touhou because of the character setting, but without music, it always feels a little incomplete. What do you think? A middle school cartoonist. Author, Mao Do Sde Mao. Chapter 205. Chapter 205 The East without music is not our dreamland without regrets. Games, animations, comics, music. Touhou covers almost all fields. Unfortunately, due to time constraints,
the barrage game could not be completed in a short period of time. This made Takahashi Makoto deeply regretful. Although the game is not gorgeous enough, he cannot give up because of this. As for the issue of animation, Taigasa offered to accept production, but Makoto Takahashi, who wanted to make the Touhou series into a high-quality product, did not agree to Chenben's suggestion, although the two parties later negotiated a new way of cooperation. As for music, it is no exaggeration to say that the East without music would still be a fantasy land where we have no regrets. Needless to say, there is a character song for each character. People who were familiar with the East in their previous lives can guess who the character will appear next as soon as they hear the intro of the music, because they are familiar with the East and because they deeply like it. Every character, so as soon as you hear the music, you can know the character that appears. According to the explanation in a certain banned book catalog, this is the so-called co-sensibility. When it comes to music, the first thing that comes to Makoto Takahashi's mind is naturally the witch Rina, who is studying abroad. Whether as an idol singer or as a musical instrument player, Rina is a professional. And it happened that Rina's school was on holiday, so she called Takahashi Makoto to tell her that she would be back in a few days. The thing that makes Takahashi Makoto the most happy is that Ogata Ag cannot go with Rina because he is busy with studio plans. This means that Makoto Takahashi can finally stop grinding the Slime Elite Boss dungeon for the time being. Rina's timing is very good, Slime is stuck in busy mode and unable to move. All of this is not so much a coincidence as it is Stein's Gate's choice. What surprises Makoto Takahashi is that Rina is accompanied by a new singer who has just joined Ogata's agency, and the person whom Lande has sworn allegiance to, the voice actor Maiho Azu. All of this is indeed Stein's Gate's choice. In addition to the queen, there are also two bishop chess pieces. Oh my, what an unexpected harvest this time. Makoto Takahashi hugged Liuli and looked at the three chatting happily over there. The woman showed a satisfied smile on her face. Hey, Ruri-chan, this time can be regarded as a banquet in the era of monsters, so you, go and gather your companions to join the banquet immediately. Cats will conquer the world as our Phoenix Academy's fierce ones. The Vanguard Army has always relied on high-level cute killing skills to corrupt human beings, so this banquet is considered a reward. Meow, Liuli tilted her head and made a cry of unknown meaning, instantly attracting the attention of the three women. The decision is yours, go ahead, Ruri-chan. Under the gazes of the three women, Takahashi Makoto threw Ruri out frantically. I will resist here, and the reinforcements will be out of the way. Run, Ruri-chan. What is teacher Makoto Takahashi doing? The woman with a delicate hairpin in her hair walked up to Makoto Takahashi, watched Liuli leave quietly, and asked curiously, is what teacher Ogata said before true? Teacher Makoto Takahashi, do you have the ability to communicate with animals? Hey. It's just a cat talk. When our Phoenix Academy was fighting in the universe, we were the general marshals of the cats. Makoto Takahashi raised his head proudly, suddenly remembered something, and a solemn expression appeared on his face. He stared at the woman in front of him. You are? Teacher Makoto Takahashi, don't you remember me? The woman, well, to be precise, she should be a girl who has just crossed the boundary of adulthood. Two small dimples were exposed on her face, and she poked her finger in embarrassment. Well, I am meeting the witch Rina, and obtaining information about the murderous nature of our Phoenix Academy from the leader of the Slime Elite. Muttering the collected information in a low voice, Takahashi Makoto suddenly shouted with a look of confusion on his face, so, are you a spy on Slime's side? Huh. Take off your disguise, I've already recognized it. Makoto-kun. It's very rude to say this. Rina seemed to see the girl's embarrassment, and immediately pulled the somewhat embarrassed girl behind her, and stood in front of Takahashi Makoto, with a warning and murderous intent in her eyes. This is the second artist at Ogata Agency, my junior is also my best friend,
Yuki Morikawa. Makoto-kun, you must not bully her. Morikawa Yuki, trying to expand the calculation capacity of his brain, Takahashi Makoto finally remembered who the girl in front of him was. Oh. It turns out to be you, the one I met once in the hospital before, with a little face. It's me. After hearing the keyword hospital, Morikawa Yuki looked happy. But, what's with that last title? Little face. Hey. Because of my sinister nature, I can't help but want to bully the little girl when I see her, and because I can't help but bully the little girl, it will indirectly stimulate the witch Rina, causing her to turn into a Yandere. Smash you mode. Seeing Rina's eyes filled with murderous intent, Makoto Takahashi understood everything instantly. Bang. I was still wondering why Ogata Slime didn't show up before. It turns out that's the case. The assassination methods are a little better than before, but if you want to plot against my Phoenix Academy, Slime, with your ability it's 1,000 years too early for the wisdom of a liquid creature. Drink ha 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 ha. Well, I'm not. Morikawa Yuki looked a little flustered, shrank behind Rina in fear, and protested in a low voice, I'm not a spy. Mr. Makoto. Witch's shout starts. Half an hour later, Makoto Takahashi looked at the three women in front of him in a disheveled state. He had always thought that the white coat that he wore could resist the treasure of the opposite world was now tattered. Tisk. I didn't expect that after just changing jobs to become a wife, her combat power would suddenly soar to such a level. If she has a child and changes jobs to become a mother, her combat power will definitely break through the sky. Although it was Makoto Takahashi muttering in a low voice, these words were heard by the three women without missing a word. Yuki Morikawa and Miho Izumi covered their mouths and laughed secretly, their eyes kept wandering between Makoto Takahashi and Rina, while the latter was blushing and shy, and attacked Makoto Takahashi again without hesitation. So if you don't commit suicide, you won't die. And if you don't repent until you die, it seems that Makoto Takahashi is like this, right? I'm sorry, I got carried away, did you think I would say that? Humph. Give up. The same trick is useless to my Phoenix court. Even if you are a witch, even if you have the auxiliary bonus of the wife profession, it's a bit naive to want to resist me. Takahashi Makoto launched a counterattack. Let go, Cough cough, which Rina couldn't fight, and everything was dark in front of her. Really bold. Morikawa Yuki spoke in a relatively low voice, for fear of disturbing the two people who were immersed in magic replenishment. I agree, Izumiho's voice was also the same. She lowered her head and glanced at the magic replenishment duo from time to time, her face flushed. At this time, Izumiho was definitely imagining the scene of replenishing magic with Landai. The counterattack launched by Makoto Takahashi was very effective. The other two who wanted to help immediately turned their heads away with red faces when they saw Makoto Takahashi use such a domineering and brutal counterattack. They abandoned their former main teammates without any scruples. Idol singer Rina Ogata, new singer Yuki Morikawa and popular voice actor Miho Azuki were gathered in the barrier by Makoto Takahashi. The purpose was of course for a talk show in the near future. However, after listening to Makoto Takahashi's plan, the first one to fall behind was the voice actor's sister Miho Azuki, the wife of Landai. Singing, looking at Makoto Takahashi with a surprised face, Miho Azuki immediately shook her head after confirming that she had not heard wrong. No. This. As a voice actor, Miho Azuki can dub different characters, but singing is not the same field. She is not good at singing. Although she had practiced with Ogata Slime for a period of time before, Miho Azuki still has no confidence in singing. Moreover, compared to the two professional singers around her, Miho Azuki, who has professional voice acting skills, is only an amateur singer. She feels a lot of pressure when singing on the same stage.
Is this okay? Ahomumanjai is really pitiful, especially Landai, who worked hard to draw a comic book at night, but was abandoned by her voice actor sister. You need to use Miho Ajaki to deal with Landai, and use Landai to deal with Miho Ajaki. Facing the shy and cute couple, Makoto Takahashi, who completely abandoned his moral integrity, can be said to be a natural enemy. But I instinctively wanted to refuse, but after hearing Makoto Takahashi mention the key name that could trigger the hidden route, Miho Ajaki finally let go of his previous hesitation. Okay. A wise choice. Makoto Takahashi immediately took out a notebook to record this information, with an expectant look on his face. Hee, if this news is sold to Landai, I guess a new toy named Landai can be obtained. Teacher Makoto Takahashi, did you write all these songs? The little face, cough cough. No, it was Yuki Morikawa. Yuki Morikawa looked at Makoto Takahashi in surprise, holding a thick stack of songs in her hand. It's just as Mr. Ogata said, Mr. Makoto Takahashi's talent. Sure enough, that guy is really annoying. Hearing the name of Slime, Makoto Takahashi's face immediately became ugly, turned to look at Yuki Morikawa, and said helplessly, actually, these songs, I plagiarized them. Plagiarism, the lost expression of a collapsed faith and an idol falling from the altar, is really pleasing. I can't tell you the details, because the organization has always wanted to capture me, conduct a live dissection experiment, and take out the search engine in my brain. Although you are a spy on the slime side, you may become a witch's private pet in the future, so it doesn't matter if I tell you this. The little submissive face is really a little submissive face, with a surprised expression on his face, which makes people want to bully and deceive. Makoto, what's going on? The last one to ask the question was Rina, who raised the song in her hand and asked Takahashi Makoto with a puzzled look, is it because of the tight time that there is no time to fill in the lyrics? Or, women are always very sensitive. Although they vaguely sensed Takahashi Makoto's true thoughts, they did not say it out, but wanted the other party to speak. And Rina deliberately interrupted Takahashi Makoto's bullying of Morikawa Yuki just to protect her good friend from the brainwashing attack of the second year. It's definitely not jealousy or anything. No, these are just pure music, there are no lyrics. Takahashi Makoto, who seemed to see through everything, showed a very gentle smile on his face in the face of Rina's doubts. That's right, these music will be played by us together. So, the witch Rina who has a contract with me, are you willing to perform on the same stage with my Phoenix Court Kuma again? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. A middle school cartoonist. Author, Mao Do Sde Mao. Chapter 206. The plan arranged by Apostle Whiteface Wiseman. Phoenix Academy Jujhen has entered the preparatory stage, and the people who decided to participate in the talk show were all gathered at Little Sea Otter's home. The male cartoonist who arrived a little later saw an extremely strange scene as soon as he entered the door. Lord Phoenix in Ozama, I, Hiramaruaki, will be your most loyal believer and can become your captive sea otter lackey. The little sea otter was half kneeling on the ground, hugging Takahashi Makoto's legs tightly, with a look on his face. Look at Makoto Takahashi religiously. On the side, Yoshida kept twitching his mouth and kept recording something in his notebook. Hey, are all the servants here? Then the second Holy Grail War can begin. Looking at the people entering the door, Takahashi Makoto had a weird smile on his face, and looked at Landai expectantly. Mr. Landai, remember to swear allegiance to me later and become my slave apostle. Drink ha 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 ha. Completely ignoring Takahashi Cheng's words, Landai looked around and asked with a puzzled face, Hey, Cheng, didn't you say that everyone is here? But Kang Shuhong and Iko Iwais didn't come. Yuri-chan and the others are changing clothes.
The little sea otter was only halfway finished when she was stopped by Takahashi Makoto. Anyway, there's still some time, why don't we discuss how to allocate tasks for this copy of interview? Makoto Takahashi opened the closed door next to him, with a helpless look on his face, and asked everyone. He spread his hands and complained angrily, anyway, the time it takes for a woman to change clothes is enough to destroy a universe. Why not take advantage of this time to discuss the next crusade mission? It's time to change clothes, it's true. The yellow-haired glasses gentleman nodded in agreement with the same feeling. But when it came to the talk show, Mr. Huang Mao and Glasses talked about Makoto Takahashi helplessly, pushed up his glasses, and complained angrily, the mission is a talk show, right? What's there to say about that? Didn't you, Chen, come up with this comic alone? Although we participated in the comic process, we may only know a little more about the entire comic than other readers. Motive. Regarding the motivation for drawing the Tuhao manga, this question will definitely be asked. Have you ever thought about how to answer it? Although he was right, Makoto Takahashi had an incomprehensible look on his face, which made the manga. Several cartoonists on the side of the house were a little embarrassed. By the way, Makoto Takahashi, you are just a Chuyunibu in a white coat, please don't act like you are strategizing and calculating every plan. The reason for drawing Eastern is because of the monster era that you mentioned before, Chen. Speaking of this, the cartoonist showed curiosity. Landai looked at Takahashi Chen curiously. I remember you before. I once talked about this issue when I was painting the East. Humph. How could the Age of Monsters be just like this? Seeing the confused looks on everyone's faces, Makoto Takahashi complained with a look of hatred, with such superficial thoughts, no wonder you will always be confused by me and the black people. Is this the extent of the Flame King's suppression? Think about it carefully, the answer has been told to you from the beginning, it's just that you haven't noticed it. Especially you, Mr. Huangmao Glasses, shouldn't you switch to Fu at this time? Mode. Open the Palace of Thinking? Don't look stupid. Although being cute is a way to survive, it is not the path you should take. Hey. I know it, Eiji Nyizuma cheered like a primary school student, raising his hands and looking forward to it. King of Black Flame, don't say it for now. Makoto Takahashi shook his head to stop his new wife Eiji, and faced the cartoonists beside him with a serious look on his face. This is not wrong, this is the test given to you by the Phoenix Academy. If you can't pass this test, how can you change the map and enter the high-level area? Come on, fight like a man. Considering a cartoonist's motivations for drawing cartoons, is this a test of the cartoonist's potential abilities? Faced with Makoto Takahashi's problem, several cartoonists entered the thinking mode. They serialized a comic in 2 issues of Shounen Jump and ended it suddenly at the height of its popularity, the so-called motive. After much deliberation, several cartoonists, the cartoonists on the cartoonist side, all think it's just a relapse of Takahashi Saichu's second disease. By the way, who can understand the thinking mode of the 2nd grade? Alas! The wisdom of mortals only reaches this level after all. Makoto Takahashi sighed helplessly, with an expression as lonely as snow in life. Think about the East carefully, right? Why is there still so much? There are many hidden stories that haven't been drawn yet. Friendly reminder, if you haven't figured it out yet, commit suicide. Is it because? Listening to Makoto Takahashi's prompts and recalling the content of the Tuhao comics, several cartoonists on the side of the cartoonists suddenly shouted in unison. By the way, this is what is called having a clear mind? It seems you have figured it out. Makoto Takahashi picked up the comic sample issue on the table and looked at the many cartoonists with a proud face. During this period, you must have heard a lot of rumors from the editors regarding the surge in popularity of the Eastern comic, and how many readers have called us to ask the editorial department to serialize this comic again, right? There are indeed many characters in the comic, but we did not draw the stories of each character.
I selectively drew some stories. The so-called Eastern Hegemony plan is actually just a cover at the beginning of the plan. The real purpose of my Phoenix Academy is to open up unlimited possibilities for the entire Eastern sex. Speaking of this, several cartoonists on the cartoonist side couldn't help but nod. Because when he was drawing comics before, Takahashi Makoto clearly let many characters appear, but until the entire Touhou comic series was completed, there were only a few characters that readers really remembered. Although most of the characters are just glimpses, the many monsters who appear in the form of cute girls, even if they are just soy sauce, have made the Touhou manga completely popular. When painting within a frame, even a painter with master-level painting skills can only draw a limited number of paintings. Even if this painting can become famous for a while, it cannot satisfy everyone because of the limitations of the frame. Aesthetics. Just like all the comics in Shonen Jump before, the comics that you wrote have been well received because they have fixed the situation and limited the comic mode. But Eastern is different, because many characters are different. The story is not drawn, so the existence that is not bound by the frame has unlimited possibilities. And this is also the charm of the East. It has to be said that humans, such inferior creatures, have unlimited imagination. The potential. Makoto Takahashi looked at the cartoonist and the crowd expectantly, with a confident smile on his face. We are just the starters of an infinite era, the pioneers of unlimited possibilities, nothing more. This. Not to mention several other cartoonists, even the new wife AG looked at Makoto Takahashi in surprise. Was this the original motivation behind painting the East? This game of chess is so big, should I say that it is worthy of the Phoenix Academy's fierceness? At first, Makoto Takahashi didn't say it clearly, and no one would believe it if he told it, but now with the popularity of the comic, the TV station even conducted an exclusive interview for this purpose, which means that Makoto Takahashi's goal has been achieved. Whether it is a sudden move or a long-planned plan, a murderer needs a motive to kill. The inappropriate metaphor made several cartoonists twitch at the corners of their mouths, but Makoto Takahashi did not pay attention to this issue at all. Instead, he said to himself, the motivation for drawing the Touhou comic is what I said before. Even as creators, we cannot be perfect, but incompleteness still means there is no limit. The life of a cartoonist is limited, but comics are infinite. As cartoonists, we are the greatest and the smallest existence. The reason why he chose to draw part of the Touhou series was actually the original purpose of Makoto Takahashi, which was to bring out the infinite nature of comics. 1,000 readers can have 1,000 interpretations of the same comic. The infinite possibilities are the charm of comics. Whether it is comics or novels, every reader has his own unique understanding and thoughts about his favorite plot development and favorite characters. Rather than deliberately limiting the spread of this imagination, it is better to serve as a guide and guide this unlimited the possibilities spread. Just when Makoto Takahashi wanted to further brainwash, several women who had entered the room to change clothes opened the closed door and walked out. The manga artist, who had just been mentally attacked by Makoto Takahashi, looked at the clothes on several women and fell into a state of surprise, especially the two good friends of Ajumu. Why Yadu? Looking at Yadumaiho's clothes, Landai fell into crash mode. I don't understand why Yadumaiho appears here, and I don't understand why Yadumaiho is wearing such clothes. No matter how you look at it, Yuri-chan is the most beautiful. The little sea otter practiced and acquired the skill. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. He stared at Miss Kang Shuhong and fell into a state of fascination. Don't look at me like this. Although his tone was a bit unkind, the look in the yellow-haired glasses man's eyes made Iwase Aiko enjoy it very much. He turned to look at Makoto Takahashi, who was in a sluggish state, and raised the corners of his mouth, revealing a grateful smile. Makoto-kun, does Rina look good in this outfit? Rotating slightly in a circle, Rina tilted her head and looked at Makoto Takahashi expectantly. It's me. At this moment,
I suffered a strong mental attack. Although he had already thought about Rina's Maiko costume before, but seeing Rina's red and white Maiko costume now, Takahashi Makoto still fell into a daze. He held the phone with trembling hands, trying to avoid mental attacks, and his tone became a little stuttering. This is my last message before I lose consciousness. El Saikongru. A middle school cartoonist. Author, Mao Email. Chapter 207. Hasn't the person arrived yet? Mina looked at her watch, looking a little anxious. She grabbed the passing staff with an angry face. Hey, go to the door and see if Mr. Feng Guangaiyu and Kuma and the others have arrived. That's right, it's you. Everyone likes beautiful women, but not many people like angry beauties. Facing Mina, who turned on the rampage mode, the innocent soy sauce staff sighed helplessly and turned out. This is the 6th time he has run errands like this. Every time he waited at the door for a long time, then shook his head and came back, and continued to be sent out again tragically. Even just now, when he was mixed in a group of staff, he was still caught by Mina. This kind of tragedy will continue to repeat. Under Mina's murderous eyes, the soy sauce staff came to the door of the TV station again, turning his head to look. According to the information leaked from the TV station, the cartoonist named Feng Guangaiyu Kuma, who was dressed like a scientist researcher in a white coat and had a decorative eye mask on his face, was very eye-catching and highly recognizable. As long as he appears, he will definitely be recognized. This is the 7th time, right? I won't go back this time, I'll wait until those bastards come over. Can't it be those guys? Seeing a large group of people in strange clothes coming over, the staff waiting at the door was shocked and swallowed hard. Although the costumes are eye-catching enough, it's completely inconsistent with the rumors, and what was said before was just the cartoonist Hao Wing-kuma. I didn't say that all of them were like this. Besides, it seems that there are a few more people than what was said before. Hey! Who are those people? Shit, that woman seems to be wearing. That costume is Ryumu, right? But that woman looks familiar. Maid costume, can't it be, maid head? Broom, and black and white clothes. By the way, that should be Marisa, right? Why is she lowering her head? The very eye-catching costumes are undoubtedly Takahashi Makoto and his group, but except for Takahashi Makoto and Nizuma Eiji, the others are like ostriches, lowering their heads deeply and not daring to look at others, although this just attracts more attention. Seeing such a group of people, many comic fans cheered one after another. The news spread quickly, so the onlookers immediately showed up. Get out of the way, get out of the way, the Shinzengamai is doing business, all irrelevant people should retreat. Takahashi Makoto, holding the magic sword-shattering star, looked at the onlookers around him with a ferocious face, and the eye mask on his head covered his iconic bangs. Eiji Nizuma also learned from Makoto Takahashi, holding a wooden sword and waving it non-stop. Facing the two brutal Shinzengamai leaders, the onlookers retreated quickly. The wooden sword in Eiji Nizuma's hand was still okay, but the so-called magic sword in Makoto Takahashi's hand was a real sword. If it hit someone, it would definitely bloom bloody flowers. Master, this won't do. Sebastian, wearing a knight's uniform, blocked Takahashi Makoto's randomly waving magic sword with a smile on his face. This can easily cause accidental injuries. Tisk. You are really nosy, Sebastian-chan. Takahashi Makoto, whose attack route was completely seen through, pouted unhappily, and put the magic sword into the scabbard in the panic eyes of the onlookers, but it can block all the attacks of the magic sword. It seems that the existence in your hand is also a kind of noble phantasm, right? How about it, before the next Holy Grail war begins, are you interested in a game? A real sword fight of life and death. I'm very sorry, the sword in my hand can only kill enemies for the monarch, but cannot attack the monarch I protect. Sebastian narrowed his eyes, and a cold light flashed in his eyes, but as a knight, I should not avoid any challenge, even if the person who initiated the challenge is me and the sword in my hand, the object of my loyalty and protection. Ding. The collision between the swords, sparks flew, and Takahashi Makoto, holding the magic sword, launched a sneak attack and a fatal blow, but was blocked by Sebastian holding an unknown noble sword. Master, this won't work. This kind of sneak attack is completely inconsistent with the style of a knight. Sebastian, with a relaxed smile on his face, gently turned his wrist and forced Takahashi Makoto back a few steps. Seeing Takahashi Makoto's excited face, trying to attack again, Sebastian smiled and shook his head, and today's occasion, Master, it seems that you need to learn some basic etiquette. No need to say more. Bending down, Takahashi Makoto held the sword in both hands and launched a stormy attack on Sebastian again. By the way, what is this situation? Seeing Takahashi Makoto and Sebastian fall into the situation of A, several normal cartoonists on the cartoonist side were completely surprised. The yellow-haired glasses man was so surprised that he forgot to perform his signature action of pushing glasses. Let's not talk about this inexplicable battle. Are these two guys really human? Shaking his head means he doesn't know what's going on, and nodding means he agrees with the yellow-haired glasses man's statement. Because of the battle between Takahashi Makoto and Sebastian, the tacit understanding of several cartoonists on the cartoonist side has soared by dozens of percentage points again. Oh! Is this the so-called battle? It's quite exciting. At this time, only Nazuma Ag had his eyes shining. I said, after learning that Takahashi Makoto and his party had arrived, Mina came after hearing the news. She wanted to complain a few words, but she saw Takahashi Makoto and Seiba using Berserker Soul SI, I can't get a word in at all. Especially when Mina came out, she saw the magic sword in Takahashi Makoto's hand piercing Sebastian's sleeve, and similarly, Sebastian's sword also pierced the corner of Takahashi Makoto's shirt. Couldn't help but scream. Swordsmanship of this level, Seiba's-chan, who are you? After avoiding Sebastian's sword that stabbed his throat, Takahashi Makoto could even feel the cold air on the sword's body, and his face with a solemn look on his face, he said, a person like you, don't tell me that before you traveled through time, you had a name called Tugakaubai. Before I was here, I was just Master Ishine's servant. Compared to Takahashi Makoto's solemn look, Seiba still kept the smile on his face, and his demeanor had not changed at all compared to before. Now I am your full-time butler, Master, that's all. I always feel like, my blood is boiling tonight. As he spoke, Takahashi Makoto stopped his previous rapid attack and held the sword in front of his eyes with both hands. It seems that after the previous warm-up, the monster blood in the body already awakened. Seiba's-chan, the real battle begins now. Oh, Master, it will trouble me a lot if you do this. It's still the usual smile, but this time the smile on Sebastian's face makes people feel unusually cold. It seems that I want to let Master, you to learn etiquette, first of all. Although Mina was shocked by the victory of the two real swords before, but after reacting, her face became extremely happy, and she immediately arranged for the personnel to be in place, and directly started live broadcasting the battle between Takahashi Makoto and Seiba's. Mina believes that this kind of intense battle with real swords is definitely 1,000 times better than the usual plain opening remarks. Of course, there are still certain risks in live broadcasting such a scene. Looking at the two people who were fighting, Mina showed a trace of solemnity on her face, commanding the staff to be ready to switch channels at any time to prevent unexpected events, such as the blooming of the blood-red demon flower. Because the previous talk show involved the popular comic Eastern, many people naturally stayed in front of the TV or computer early. At the beginning, when watching the program broadcast on TV, many people were a little stunned, especially when they saw the fight between Sebastian and Takahashi Makoto. Many people thought it was a promotional video for a certain movie, and they were shocked. I am also determined to watch this movie when it is aired. Although Takahashi Makoto doesn't appear many times, his eye-catching white coat outfit and his most powerful words still impressed many people. With the arrangements of the MUINE personnel, multiple cameras were working simultaneously from multiple angles, and Makoto Takahashi was naturally recognized. Looking at Makoto Takahashi's exaggerated fighting power, many people sighed with emotion and posted the news online, and then, huh? Is this an abnormality in the data? Looking at the skyrocketing ratings, the staff wiped their eyes with some confusion, turned to look at the empty live broadcast hall, and complained helplessly to the people around them at the same time, the program, it hasn't started yet, it should still be GG time. Sure enough, it's because of a system calculation error. How could the ratings suddenly skyrocket? The Lord of Demons and Demons, the most powerful secret of the slippery ghost, Jinghua Shuiyu, the first to launch the attack, was undoubtedly Takahashi Makoto. He accelerated and rushed towards Sebastian. There was no look of joy or expectation on Takahashi Makoto's face. He stared at Sebastian with his right eye, holding the magic sword tightly in both hands, raising it high, as if he had exhausted all his strength. Just the same, he chopped it down hard. Oh, 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 you actually used the secret of the slippery ghost. Sebastian bent down slightly and took a deep breath. Then here, it seems that we need to use the secret of the 8 leaves Idoryu, the Wind the Sword Master's ultimate S-move, Wind God Fierce Attack. However, facing Makoto Takahashi's attack, Sebastian turned sideways and exposed most of his back to Makoto Takahashi, with a smile on his face. Seeing this, the onlookers who had been fleeing and hiding aside started to scream in surprise. Even the cartoonists next to the cartoonist could not help but exclaim. Many timid women had already covered their eyes and did not dare to read any more. The TV station staff were staring at Mina, their fingers spinning on the switching button because of nervousness. As long as Mina gave an order, the channel switching could be completed immediately. Although I wasn't there at the scene, I could still feel the momentum of Makoto Takahashi's killer blow even from the screen. Many people are worried whether Takahashi Makoto will kill Sebastian with one sword. Of course, there are also a small number of people who are looking forward to seeing such a scene. As a result, the magic sword in Takahashi Makoto's hand was knocked away, and the noble phantasm sword in Sebastian's hand was cut into 2 pieces. Such a result made the crowd who had been watching let out a sigh of relief, and then fell into eternal silence. The warm-up performance is over, thank you all. Makoto Takahashi and Sebastian bowed slightly and saluted the crowd, awakening the silent onlookers and receiving endless applause. It was such a bold performance. Mina did not hesitate to praise her, while gently wiping the sweat on her forehead. Speaking of which, was that really a performance? It felt like those 2 people really wanted to hack each other to death. Then, next is the long-awaited Tuhao Grand Ceremony. My believers, cheer. Makoto Takahashi led the cartoonist side and walked into the live broadcast hall. When passing by Sebastian, he whispered, next time after the limit is lifted, let's have another good fight. Captain Sebastian of the 11th Division. As you wish, my lord. Kneeling on one knee, Sebastian made a standard knight salute with an expectant smile on his face. Sorry, I went out of town yesterday because of something, so. BTW, I had to make a choice because of some things during this period. So, please pay attention to it, everyone. Once you notice that a certain cat has entered the blackening stage and turned on the dark violent mode, please give up this book immediately. This is a serious request, because some interesting things happened. A certain cat may enter the collapse mode, ruining himself, ruining this book, and then ruining the whole world. But don't worry, this book will be written seriously. That's it, my heart is a little confused. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist Mao. Chapter 208. Searched can on Google. The previous real sword fight between Makoto Takahashi and Sebastian made many viewers who rushed to the TV station excited, but the people in front of the TV and computers kept cursing. Because it would still take some time for Makoto Takahashi and others to enter the live broadcast hall, the audience at the scene was better. Those viewers who were in front of the TV or computer were looking forward to the wonderful program, but what they saw was a GG couldn't stop at all, and his anger reached its peak instantly. Although Mina's coping ability is extremely good, she cannot be omniscient and omnipotent. Just like Zyobin's law of killing, although his ability is almost invincible, he is also unable to interfere with or break through the laws of physical time. Although Mina was able to make all preparations, she was still unable to cope with some emergencies, not to mention. Among the disruptors this time, there was also a Chuyonibu bastard named Phoenix Institute's fiercest man. What's going on? Looking at the three women over there, Mina had a puzzled look on her face, pulled Takahashi Makoto into the corner, and shouted loudly, "You said before that you want to performing a performance of Tuhao music, but the problem is that you didn't say that the guest of this performance will be the popular star Ogatarina. And the other two women, one is a popular voice actress and the other is a new idol who has just debuted. Humph. This is the strength of our association, tremble, common people." Makoto Takahashi showed a proud smile on his face. "The witch Rina, who signed a contract with me and has the ability to destroy the world, can withstand the sword of Akasha. The iron-faced little girl, coupled with the quasi-married woman who masters the secret of koi and cute killing, and the arrogant cartoonist Phoenix Academyjima, this is the existence that can cause trouble in the universe. I spent a lot of money to gather these guys at the beginning. It took a cosmic calendar to challenge countless gods of light and gods of creation before it could be accomplished. As my followers, you don't need to be too grateful. Thank you, sister. This is a big trouble, okay. By the way, today's focus is on the topic of Eastern, right? What about your teammates who completed the manga with you? Creating three popular beautiful girls will steal all the limelight from the East. Phoenix Academy teacher, please be more serious. We need to discuss now how to conduct the program next. Mina tried to persuade Takahashi Makoto to switch to normal communication mode. Looking at Takahashi Makoto's thoughtful look, Mina breathed a sigh of relief, but her brain was working rapidly, thinking about what to do next. Especially asking for my opinion. You are indeed a member of my followers. Makoto Takahashi nodded with satisfaction, but his tone became a little confused. Since you are a member of my followers, logically speaking, you shouldn't have got my name wrong. It's not Phoenix Academy Master, it's Phoenix Academy Murderer. Wrong name. Have you been bribed by the organization? Mina-chan, it's already time. The supporting staff member who had been running errands before gave a kind reminder, but what he got in exchange was Mina's eyes full of murderous intent. He spread his hands helplessly, with an awkward smile on his face, shook his head and left sadly. This ability to treat men like mere playthings, is indeed correct. It is exactly the fate of the legendary lone star of heavenly evil. Makoto Takahashi looked at Mina up and down and said with a surprised look on his face, while extending his hand to express sympathy. Patted Mina's shoulder, "It doesn't matter. If you become one of my followers, you will have to live a lonely life. Only in this way can you become the will of fate, become a called child, and get the blessings of the divine plan. Vampire monsters, perfect for saving the world. Is a lonely life an inevitable choice? Is this a curse? This is definitely a curse." The pen in Mina's hand was instantly broken in half, and she stared angrily at Makoto Takahashi's arrogant back as he left. Before, she liked the fierce Mina of the Phoenix Academy because of the comics, but now she wanted to divide Takahashi Makoto into 17 pieces. If it weren't for discussing the program, wait, Mina suddenly remembered that she seemed to have suffered strong ridicule before and fell into a state of anger. She did not tell Takahashi Makoto clearly about the program, although there was a look of reluctance on her face, but as a professional, Mina still suppressed her anger and quickly chased after him. Since you made your request sincerely, I will forgive you mercifully once, without listening to Mina's plans and arrangements at all. Takahashi Makoto had a pensive look on his face. Leave everything to me, today we will be on top of the world. Ha 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 ha. Watching Takahashi Makoto leave with a wild laugh, Mina suddenly felt a deep sense of powerlessness. From the perspective of standing on the side, it seems that the patience with the second grade can actually bring endless joy, but as a partner, it is, as the director said before, the patients with the second grade can only watch from a distance, and cannot play with them. The lights in the live broadcast hall suddenly dimmed, and the audience who had been whispering before held their breaths because everyone knew that the real interview was about to begin. Electronic music suddenly sounded, and the magic-style music made many viewers stunned, and then the sound of laughter suddenly sounded in the hall. Under the spotlight, a loli dressed in Gothic style appeared in the center of the stage holding a teddy bear. Ah ha ha ha. That's a girl's laughter. But the laughter that was supposed to be joyful sounded a little weird at this moment. Looking at the little Lolita who appeared on the stage, with this laughter, many people have already understood that this is the second sister in the East. Many people who had awakened their Lolicon souls even started whistling loudly and cheering non-stop. Is that Sun? But why is she dressed as Lolita? However, among the audience, a woman suddenly popped the Coke in her mouth and looked at the people on the stage in surprise, confirming again and again that it was correct. After that, I couldn't laugh or cry, but the strange soul of my younger brother was awakening. Asking Sun to dress up as a woman, well, although it's a bit against the rules, I have to say that Sun's outfit is quite suitable. Shun Shiratori was on the stage, facing the audience and cheering, lowering his head vigorously, not daring to raise his head at all. He used to be a Jumumenha's assistant. When he was drawing a new comic, he was startled by a sudden visit from Takahashi Makoto and Sebastian. Then the tragedy began. Like Morikawa Yuki, Shun Shiratori also has a small face, but because of her height, she was designated by Makoto Takahashi to dress up as the second sister. At the beginning, Shun Shiratori naturally tried his best to resist, but facing Makoto Takahashi who started to enter Leech Demon mode and Sebastian in Yaichi mode, so the rebellious resistance was useless. Tisk, 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 there are so many forbidden items. The innocent little face on the surface turns out to be a fanatical believer in the Sister Control series. If that fanatical sister knows about it, what is the soul of the brother control? He will definitely wake up, and maybe he will train his younger brother to be a loyal dog. Pulling out a large pile of magazines and CDs that were not suitable for children that were prepared in advance, Takahashi Makoto used the camera recorded everything while talking to himself like a demon. Well, but I still need some servants to participate in the battle, so Shiratori Shun-san, you will definitely participate in the battle soon, right? Tears were in his eyes but he couldn't refuse. By the time Shiratori Shun reacted, he had already put on the Lolita outfit and stood on the stage. Although the costume of this second lady did make many Lolita cheer, but when Rina and 3 other women appeared on the stage, the whole live broadcast hall was completely boiling. Especially when many eagle-eyed viewers discovered that the person playing Ryumu in a red and white Maiko costume was the popular idol Ogata Rina, their cheers could almost cover the sound of the music. Every song or piece of music always has a corresponding character. Although it didn't last long, and although several of the counter-actors came on and off with their heads bowed in shame and blushing, it has to be said that just from the beginning, Makoto Takahashi successfully ignited the atmosphere of the entire live broadcast. The different styles of music, combined with the various voice acting skills of the CEO's sister, made the comic to how successfully come to the public with an alternative performance method. And just when the audience was excited, the music suddenly stopped and the entire stage fell into darkness. When the spotlight was turned on again, there were several chairs placed in the live broadcast hall. The people who had made a temporary guest appearance in the East were sitting on the chairs properly. The only person standing was the one who had not changed his attire. Makoto Takahashi. If you want to destroy human beings and destroy the world, please study physics and chemistry well, because only by mastering these can you indirectly learn the forging method of the world-destroying noble phantasm. If you want to gain the support of believers, you must learn psychology and religion well. The former being able to passively master hypnotic suggestion and other methods of playing with people's minds, and the latter can gain widespread support. Takahashi Makoto's opening remarks completely stunned the audience and couldn't help but whisper. But Makoto Takahashi on the stage didn't care, and instead said to himself, if you want to become a creator god and recreate a world, you must choose to become a cartoonist or a novelist. Jun, I'm sorry to say that you have been trapped in the world we created, and you will never be able to escape from it. The reason why many people came to the scene today and chose to stay in front of the TV or computer was actually waiting to get information about the East. They were fascinated by the world built by the East, and because they were fascinated by the East, attracted by the story depicted in Touhou, although the statement is a bit weird, I have to admit that Takahashi Makoto's metaphor is very appropriate, because Touhou has indeed made many people addicted to it. Many people want to steal information about Touhou, want to know more stories, want to know more content. Makoto Takahashi mentioned this, and many people in the audience held their breath and pricked their ears. Listen and be afraid of missing any news. Makoto Takahashi deliberately paused for a long time before continuing slowly, greed is okay. But laziness is unforgivable. Instead of waiting like this, why are you unwilling not to fantasize? Do you want to think about it, but don't want to think about it? After the creation of Eastern, I have been waiting for more humans to evolve into creation gods and pioneers of the new world just like us. However, unfortunately, only a few people understand this truth. Most of them people would still rather wait than work hard to imagine a related parallel world. His face became serious. Takahashi Makoto's eyes were like sharp swords, scanning the entire live broadcast hall. This world is falling. Because you don't love reverently enough. Build the fantasy town in your mind, build the Touhou world in your mind, since you like it, since you love it, then don't hesitate, don't be confused, go on without regrets. Let me, Feng Guangai Yuan Kuma, see how much you love Touhou. The real Touhou is the Touhou with 3,000 worlds. Since you love it, since you like it, then swear here. Let Touhou become the beginning of infinity and never end. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist Mao. Chapter 209. After today, the popularity of Touhou will definitely skyrocket again. Looking at Makoto Takahashi's enthusiastic expression on the stage, Chen Ben in the audience showed an expectant smile on his face. He murmured to himself amidst the cheers of the audience, not to mention the animation that follows. Chen Ben was in a good mood, but Mina was in a very bad mood. As a temporary guest host, all Mina needs to do is control the scene. But because of Takahashi Makoto's words, because Takahashi Makoto spoke completely out of common sense, it gave Mina a headache. Looking at the excited audience in the audience, Mina had already noticed that the whole scene was a little out of control. According to the original arrangement, Makoto Takahashi was not allowed to speak this time. The effect of the character show and music performance was very good, but the brutal speech that was added at the last minute made Mina unable to continue. What made Mina even more angry was that Makoto Takahashi took the microphone and kept hinting to herself that it was time for her to appear next. But the problem is, Mina, whose mind is completely blank now, doesn't know how to take over and continue hosting the show. Hey! There really is no critical moment. The entire venue was caught in a frenzy, and suddenly Takahashi Makoto's faint complaints were heard. Just before the audience could react, a shout suddenly sounded. It's not all because of you, a guy who doesn't follow the procedures at all. Mina stared at Makoto Takahashi with a black look on her face, and roared hysterically, "I'm not the one who is useless. It's all because of your Chuyunibu. Now I don't even know what to do next, eh." Because Takahashi Makoto used the taunting skill, Mina was provoked and forgot to turn off the microphone, so, Mina's attention instantly reached the level of a supreme god. The previously frenzied scene instantly fell into a brief period of silence, followed by laughter and whistles. The sound and ground double combos keep rising and falling. My followers, I regret to tell you something, we need new reinforcements at this moment. Makoto Takahashi had a serious expression on his face, and with the blindfold on his face, he instantly became filled with evil aura. Just like the evil party before launching a war, you must have heard the roar that contains spiritual attacks before. Because God is afraid of the power of women, so he set up a system for them to continue to lose blood every month, resulting in HP. I have been dissatisfied all year round. All the money I got from killing monsters was used to buy medicine and snacks to restore my HP. As a result, I couldn't keep up with the equipment and experience, and my combat effectiveness dropped sharply. Think about it carefully. What was the combat effectiveness of a girl who had not yet entered the job transfer era? So cruel. So don't laugh, be careful when the other party gets angry and enters the black violent mode and destroys the entire earth. Phoenix Institute, fierce. The sound of gnashing teeth sounded again, and Mina once again forgot to turn off the microphone. The same mistake was made twice. Sure enough, anger is the original sin. How rude. Now, I, as a knight, will be the temporary guest host. A magnetic male voice sounded, and the spotlight suddenly flashed, and a man wearing a knight's uniform walked onto the stage with a smile. He bowed respectfully to the audience. "I'd like to thank Haihan for being disrespectful. I hope everyone will take note of the previous performance and try your best to cooperate." Wow! It's the knight who fought against the Phoenix Academy before, a little fat man suddenly exclaimed, and the snacks in his hands were scattered on the floor. Is the guest host at this time to save the situation? In addition to the fierce battle before, is this the legendary Love and Death? A creature named Fui raised the corner of its mouth, revealing what was going on in its head. The smile that made up for some disharmonious scenes, his eyes kept wandering between Takahashi Makoto and Sebastian. Compared to the pretty knights, the Phoenix Academy should be more aggressive. Although doubts and surprises coexisted, at this time, violent applause sounded, which was undoubtedly the best response. Although he was bullied miserably by Makoto Takahashi, Showbiz immediately took control of the situation as soon as he appeared on the stage. This made Mina, who had left the show in anger and shyness, feel happy and helpless at the same time. I am happy because Sebastian appeared on the stage and successfully kept the show going, but I am helpless because, this man who obviously looks like Takahashi Makoto's butler, like Takahashi Makoto, does not act according to the routine at all, and the microphone in her hand was tightly grasped. Why now? Mina looked at her empty hands in confusion, and then at the microphone in Sebastian's hand, tilting her head and lost in thought. I believe that all of you here are already familiar with the Touhou comic series. In order to show your continued support, the original creators also made a small animation dedicated to you. Sabo fully entered the host state. Full of aura, Mina, who was watching from the side, was filled with admiration. Seeing how Showbiz was swaying freely on the stage, Mina sighed. Compared to the time when she was completely suppressed by Makoto Takahashi, this temporary host is really awesome. Animation? Animation of Touhou. Upon hearing this news, die-hard fans of Touhou were excited. Have you actually completed the animation in such a short period of time? Of course, many people were doubtful, with doubtful looks on their faces. As the young master said before, Eastern means infinite, so this is not an animation adapted from a comic, but an original one. Well, before the interview begins, can you all watch a clip of the animation quietly, Sebastian raised his index finger and put it to his mouth to signal silence. With his handsome face and kind smile, his ability to clear the field instantly reached the level of a treasure of the world. At the beginning of the animation, it was in a room. There was a computer in front of the young lady, and she was chatting happily. The little sister in a maid outfit behind her was wiping the bookshelf. Seeing this scene, many people immediately exclaimed that the background of the story was in the Scarlet Devil mansion. There was no change, no gorgeous battle, but a group of girls in Gensokyo suddenly started talking about the issue of age. Yakumo Yukari, as a gap monster, issued a GG, which roughly means that there is no need to discuss age, and then she was complained about in various ways, and the name was upgraded from Yukari Mom to Yukari Grandma. Although Yakumo Yukari does not appear in many scenes in the comics, her special appearances at intervals and her powerful and unpredictable strength have indeed left a deep impression on readers. However, in the animation, the announcement released by Yakumo Yukari was written with the blood-red characters 17 as the background. The audience smiled knowingly when they saw this. Whether it is a woman or a female monster, when it comes to age and certain issues, they are always unexpectedly stubborn and hard-mouthed. 495-year-old vampires are all Lolita, why do they become old ladies? After seeing the close-up of this sentence, the young lady smiled wickedly, imagined the age of Yakumo Yukari, and then quickly typed on the keyboard with her fingers. I just call you Yukari Mom, so what? If you have the ability, suddenly appear from behind me and press my face on the keyboard. Just as the young lady was typing quickly, the gap in the animation that was exclusive to Yakumo Yukari's appearance appeared. Yakumo Yukari suddenly appeared, stretched out her hand with a gloomy face, pressed the young lady's head on the keyboard, and kept shaking it, and the words typed by the young lady, the content behind has become a bunch of garbled characters. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha, the young lady is really unlucky. Suddenly appearing like this, ha ha, this is the end of mocking our Yakumo Yukari. The screen gradually went black, and the animation ended. The audience who were still immersed in laughter were still looking forward to the content later, but found that the animation ended here, and the previous laughter immediately turned into dissatisfaction. Eh? That's it? What's next? Isn't this a scam? You dare to call this an animation? Please beg for the full version of the animation. Mr. Feng Guangai Yuan, your believers and followers hope to see more miracles. The cartoonists on the cartoonist's side looked at Takahashi Makoto speechlessly, deliberately throwing out this short animation. This guy is really used to scamming people. Ahem, I've said it before. Facing the excited audience, Takahashi Makoto stood in the center with a fanatical smile on his face. If you want to see more animations, if you want to see more stories, use your imagination, create, fill in the blanks, and build. Because of the love for Tuhao, an infinite world can be born. Tuhao belongs not only to us cartoonists, but also to the entire human race. So burn it up, let the greed of curiosity and desire dominate your actions. Novels, comics, animations, games, all methods are fine. The world of love is unlimited, the world of love has no limits. Let us build together the world of Tuhao miracle, ignite the world's love for Tuhao. It seems that this is the original intention of Mr. Hao Kuma when you created the manga Tuhao, but is this good? After all, the manga Tuhao is the result of everyone's hard work. As an author, especially a manga author, the story background and character settings that you have worked hard to create are just used by others. Why don't you feel angry, but support this practice? As a professional host, Sebastian performed very well. He was not suppressed by Makoto Takahashi's words, but took the opportunity to ask such a question. Mina kept nodding beside him, and a look of interest appeared on her face. This question was prepared by Mina early in the morning, but Sebastian didn't expect to ask it. From Makoto Takahashi's previous words and deeds, it can be seen that Makoto Takahashi is very encouraging people who like to how to create fan-related works. This not only puzzled many viewers, but even the cartoonist who had been in a soy sauce state on the side was also puzzled. They all held their breath and listened to Makoto Takahashi's next answer. Because of likes and love, everything I do can be forgiven. Recalling his past life, when he had drawn fan comics and written fan novels, Takahashi Makoto showed a nostalgic look on his face. The reason why I chose to create fan fiction was because I was driven by my heartfelt likes and love from the depths of my soul. No matter what the final result is, in the process of creation, the likes from the heart and the love from the depths of the soul are real. According to the principle of equal exchange, since you have given your sincere love and likes, you naturally have the right to use them. So my believers, don't be confused, hesitant or uneasy, follow your inner love and likes to create your own Toho and your own fantasy. My followers, do you like comics? Takahashi Makoto took a step forward with a look of emotion on his face. How Winkuma, really like comics. I like to create stories because I can get a sense of superiority in controlling everything. I like to torture the characters in the stories because I can feel the pleasure of playing with the characters, because when I draw comics, I am God, I am the God who can create everything and destroy everything. Encourage you? No, I am just guiding you. That's right, this world is decaying, this world is degenerating. Gentlemen, it's time to initiate a change. Takahashi Makoto shook his white coat, looked at the audience sitting in the audience with a serious face, and raised his right hand. Let's change this world with How Winkuma, starting from the east, and create our own fantasy village. Because we like and love, we are willing to risk our lives. Although it is a bit exaggerated and hypocritical, a certain cat wants to say to every author who writes novels, especially fan fiction, as a reader, thank you for creating different worlds, and you have worked hard. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 210. If possible, I hope to delete this part completely. The yellow-haired man with glasses, with a bitter smile on his face, looked at his shameful appearance of women's clothing on TV, and complained to his good friend next to him helplessly, this outfit made Zionjai laugh all night. Hey, Jace, who, are you listening? That kind of thing doesn't matter. Landai held his mobile phone and fell into a dull brain-filling mode, with a nympho smile on his face, lying on the chair like a mollusk. Yado-chan's outfit is really beautiful. Hee. Hey, Jace, who? Cheer up. Seeing his good friend fall into such a state, the yellow-haired man with glasses shook his head helplessly and put a thick stack of manuscript paper on the table. This is the next plot. So much, when it comes to comics, Landai finally came back to his senses. Looking at the manuscript paper nearly half a meter high on the table, his face showed a look of astonishment, and his tone was full of strong suspicion. Akito, this number, could it be that you made it up randomly? Didn't you say that because you were too obsessed with studying Toho before, your mind was full of cute monsters and so on, and you didn't think about the new plot at all? That's right. These plots were thought out during the time you were drawing Toho together. When mentioning this, the yellow-haired man with glasses showed a trace of helplessness on his face, staring at the wall connecting to the next door, and his tone was full of disappointment. Aiken is really amazing. Although this Toho is a comic book completed by everyone, whether it is Nazuma-kun or Fukuda-kun, everyone knows that the original creator of this comic should actually be Aiken. So Aiken is called. Landai hadn't finished speaking when he heard the doorbell ring. He looked up at the wall clock and saw that the time agreed with the editor Hattori had arrived. Mr. Makoto, Mr. Takagi, thank you for your hard work. After a brief greeting, Hattori looked a little strange and put the comic manuscript in his hand on the table. I'm sorry to bother you again this time. These are the comic manuscripts that need to be reviewed. Oh, forget it, let's take a look first. Are there any problems with the comic manuscripts that need to be reviewed this time? Seeing Hattori's strange expression, the Yachin Mumanjai duo was a little curious. After looking at each other, they did not pick up the comic manuscript immediately, but the yellow-haired glasses man spoke as a representative. Will it be like last time? Are you talking about the incident with Nanamimine Toru? Haha, it's not like that. Hattori smiled helplessly and shook his head silently. This matter is related to you. Let's take a look at the comics first. Related to us? Upon hearing this, Yachin Mumenjai's face immediately became a little confused. Seeing Hattori's unwilling expression, he had to pick up the comics on the table and flip through them quickly. After just flipping through a few pages, Yachin Mumenjai and his duo fell into a state of astonishment. The situation is so, alas. Hattori leaned on the sofa, looked at the two with a wry smile, picked up a submitted comic and opened it. The 10 comics submitted for the monthly award this time are all fan comics of Toho. Huh? All 10 comics. The yellow-haired man with glasses looked at the editor Hattori with surprise. Although I know that Toho comics are indeed very popular, it should not be possible to serialize fan comics of other cartoonists in Shonen Jump, right? It is indeed not possible. After all, this practice is very unfair to other cartoonists. Editor Hattori's expression was also a little depressed. The previous short-lived serialization, plus the subsequent TV show, Toho has gathered a lot of popularity. It is precisely because of this that many readers will definitely read the comics related to Toho first when they see it, regardless of the content and painting skills of the comics. The yellow-haired man with glasses pushed his glasses. Although he had a vague judgment on the popularity of Toho before, it now seems that he had underestimated the diffusion ability of Toho before. In this way, many comics, especially newly serialized comics. Actually, you don't have to worry too much about this issue. Editor Hattori spread his hands and explained to the puzzled Yachin Mumenjai, the actual situation is that in recent times, more than 90% of the new comic manuscripts received by the entire Shonen Jump editorial department are Toho fan works. Even the remaining 10% of the comic manuscripts can vaguely see the relevant characters and backgrounds of Toho. The comic manuscript in Lan Dai's hand went on a free-fall journey, but Lan Dai himself did not without any reaction. He looked at his good friend who was lost in thought with a dull face. Hey, Akito, so that should be it. The yellow-haired man with glasses also looked a little ugly, and explained to the puzzled editor Hattori, when we were drawing the comics before, Aiken said that this time he would use the Toho comics to complete the so-called Toho domination plan. At the beginning, we all thought it was just Aiken's second-year disease outbreak, but we didn't expect that Aiken actually did it. Haha, I have heard a little bit about this plan. When mentioning this, editor Hattori suddenly heard something, and a smile appeared on his face. When I heard this plan from Yoshida-kun before, everyone in the editorial department they all secretly laughed at the cartoonist Hohoin Murakushin for being too arrogant. So when Shonen Jump used 2 issues to serialize Toho, many people, including me, thought this was what it was called Eastern Hegemony Plan. But now it's not just comics that dominate the entire publication, even the reserve power of Shonen Jump has been taken over by Toho. But why do the comics in the monthly magazine have to be chosen from fans of Toho? The yellow-haired glasses man looked at the editor Hattori curiously. It is impossible that all the manga manuscripts are fans of Toho, right? Although there are many, there should be some comics that are not fans of Toho, right? There are 2 reasons. When mentioning this matter, editor Hattori also looked helpless. The first reason is that the editorial department received a large number of calls asking to continue serializing Toho comics. Do you still remember the previous Toho comics? PCP, what about being called to complain? Of course I remember. Recalling the previous incident, Yachin Mumenjai and the 2 nodded with lingering fear. Could it be that? Compared to the previous situation, this time is much more troublesome. Especially after your talk show was broadcast, The editorial department's phone kept ringing for 3 whole days and never stopped. Recalling the previous call, after receiving the horrifying scene of phone calls, Hattori showed a look of fear on his face. Everyone in the editorial department has been tortured crazy by the phone calls. Those of us editors who are responsible for contacting cartoonists are better off, but those colleagues who are always in the office, guys, why do you have such expressions? Haha. The two of them laughed dryly, and the man with yellow-haired glasses explained helplessly, actually, we have also encountered such a situation recently. Many classmates and friends have called to ask about the thing. Mr. Hattori, what is the second reason? The second reason is because the mangaka Hohoin is fierce. Hattori curled his lips and complained unhappily. Obviously he drew a lot of characters, but in the entire Touhou manga, these characters were not included. Telling the character's story, this kind of deceptive behavior. Editor Hattori kept complaining about Takahashi Makoto's unethical digging behavior, but Ajumu and the two looked at each other in shock. Listening to Editor Hattori's rather familiar tone of complaint, the two looked at each other and smiled. Sure enough, Mr. Hattori is also a fan of Touhou. So among the comics in this monthly appreciation, there are several comics that are pretty good and have some unique insights into several characters in the Touhou comics. Although they are still in the category of fandom, these authors have joined in. With my own understanding and ideas, I carefully drew a comic of my own style. Hattori picked up the teacup, took a sip to relieve his dry throat, and continued to say to Ajumu, as the original author, you are responsible for the entire series. Comics naturally require a deeper understanding. Taking into account the influence of comics and from a profit perspective, it is indeed the best choice to publish some short stories belonging to Touhou fans at this time. After all, as a for-profit company, knowing that comics have a lot of popularity and can earn a lot of profits, they will naturally not let it go. This is what Makoto Takahashi has considered from the beginning. Yuisha wants to earn more profits through comics, while Makoto Takahashi needs to let Touhou complete the miracle and realize the plan to dominate, although the two parties have not carried out through communication, but this kind of secretive cooperation, haha. But when it comes to understanding comics, Chang should be more suitable than us, right? The yellow-haired glasses man pushed up his glasses and looked at Hattori with a confused look. To be honest, what we know is actually only more than there are just more readers. About this issue, Yoshida-kun has told me before. Hattori suppressed his smile and looked at Ajumu seriously. Takagi-kun, and Makoto-kun, do you want to surpass the Phoenix Academy's murderous spirit? Of course, the loud voice and the answer without hesitation, that's it. If you continue to practice, you may be able to obtain the title, Lion's Bravery. This is not only a trial, but also a training. If you want to surpass the fierceness of our Phoenix Academy, start from the east. Looking at you working hard, no matter in the past or present, there is a feeling of excitement. Drawing comics is also it's such an interesting world that allows people to enter the burning state of the small universe. It's so great to be able to come to this world. Come and have a good fight, Aiken Mumenjai. I will use your blood and bones to strengthen it. My immortal frozen throne. Looking at the Spartan expressions of Ajumu and Hattori, an awkward smile appeared on Hattori's face. Yoshida-kun asked me to tell you this, the manga artist Phoenix Institute fears true words. That guy Aiken. It's too arrogant. You spoke in tandem, and you were able to cooperate so well, although I know that you two, Ajumu, are good friends, but do you want to show your affection like this? Hey, Chi-Ren, the time has come. Although he looked unhappy, looking at the clock on the wall, Lan Dai showed a strange smile on his face. Well, it's already this time. The yellow-haired man with glasses also showed an expectant look on his face. Looking at the puzzled Hattori, he kindly explained, Mr. Hattori, listen carefully next. What? The confused Hattori looked at the expressions of Yachin Mumenjai and the others, full of curiosity. Just when he wanted to ask, he was startled by the roar that suddenly came from next door. Eastern sect leader, your sister. I am the crazy cartoonist Feng Guangai Yuan Kuma, not the dead demon who learned the Zhanding Baodian and then changed his job to an embroidery master. This world already has value. Sure enough, after becoming a god, the first thing to do is to eliminate humans and destroy the world. And my subordinate cat, you dare to call me like this, do you know your sin, humph? There is no point in saying more, go to hell. Bankai, whirlwind split kidney and egg shattering. It's still the same as always, Feng Guangai Yuan Kuma teacher. Although some words were incomprehensible, Hattori still felt very interesting. He used his exclusive skills and released helium atoms with a slight smile on his lips, hee hee.